Hey, say hi to the internet. Ah, he's itchy. He's on his couch. He's upset because the weather's all gray and rainy. He'd rather be up in his window, but he only goes up there when it's sunny. Hey, what do you have, fleas? Yeah, he's busy. We'll try again later. And we're back with the Ampeg Gemini. We just got a little bit of the old Pink Floyd in the background. Animals, my favorite album. Yeah, here we are. Gemini by George C.
Scotty.
Ampeg, or whatever his name is. If you saw the last installment of this amplifier here, it was working after the repair to the power supply, or the rebuilding of the power supply from scratch, and the proper wiring of the output tubes. There was a shit ton of noise.
Fuck this noise, man!
Coming out of the speaker. And it's more than just like, interference or, RF, whatever you want to call it. It was definitely some kind of malfunction noise. Pretty sure I did everything correctly there. The rectifier is rectifying beautifully. So I went, broke out the multimeter, and we tested to see if all these green and yellow capacitors were blocking direct current into the circuit where they should be, and they all appear to be. They all appear to be doing their job very nicely, except for this guy. See that big giant disc capacitor right there? He ain't doing squat.
Shit.
So that's where we're going to start. I'm going to replace this guy and then fire her up again and see if that help matters at all. So if that sounds interesting to you, and I don't know why it would.
We're going to talk about watching paint dry.
But if it does, stay tuned. A little progress update here. We replaced that faulty disc capacitor right there with that guy right there, that nice shiny new one. The resistor that's next to it, that 330, that's fine. Pulled the leg out, tested it, that's spot on still. One thing I did notice while troubleshooting is on the schematic, they mislabeled the pins, or they miswired the circuit. Take a pick, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But pin 6, 7, and 8 on the schematic is actually pins 1, 2, and 3 on the 6EG7 here. But anyway, no biggie. Just added a few minutes to the troubleshooting process. Like I said before, all these green and blue capacitors seem to have weathered the sands of time nicely. But the same cannot be said for these bullet capacitors in that friggin' capacitor there, that 22 with the canvas looking shit on it, or the, kind of looks like medical tape. And there's another one under here. So we'll get rid of the bullets, we'll get rid of the medical tape. While we're at it, we get the soldering iron all warmed up, and then maybe we'll fire up and see how she's doing. And while we're at it, a couple of little handy things I use here. I use a capacitor code calculator, pardon me, and a resistor band code calculator. Here's the whatchamahoosit. Where is it? Anyway, for that one, for the resistor one. So let's say right here. Where are you? That big one there. Orange, brown, silver. 4 band. Do orange, brown, silver. Bam, 330 ohms. I know a lot of smart people can figure that stuff out in your head, but when you're got a bunch of things on your mind, you're trying to figure out problems, it's always just a good idea to get it straight from the source so you don't make any mistakes, as that's liable to happen. And same thing with the capacitor calculator here. We need a 22 microfarad, so when we're digging through the pile, and they don't say 22 micro on it, for example. It probably will at this value. But if we wanted to know what the code was, the code is 226. So easy peasy. You don't need to rely on the accuracy and completeness of your brain power. And there you go. Focus. So I'm doing a little digging around here, and I saw that there were a couple of other things soldered into these terminals. So I pulled this guy up, and we have a couple of jumpers here, and they kind of crisscross over to those. This is, I believe, the tremolo capacitors. So these guys right here calls for 0.05. These are all 0.07s, and then our buddy here with the medical tape on him. Yeah, it's not a 22, it's a 0.22. That did seem a little bit or ridiculously high, but it's hard to tell. I mean, is that just a speck on the paper, or is that a decimal point? But we're gonna go with 0.22. What's the worst that can happen? So we'll pop this guy back into place, and then, as mentioned before, we'll get rid of the bullet capacitors. This guy here, bullet, and that guy over here. All right, moving on. And while we're at it, replacing capacitors over here, as you may or may not be able to see, it looks like somebody circumcised these wires right here. So we'll go ahead and add some wires. I believe those are supposed to go into the LDR for the tremolo, which used to sit right here. And there's another one of those great Ampeg screws, tamper resistant. So we'll add some jumpers in anticipation of building a roach for this thing. Little letter carrier just dropped off a package from those guys in Tempe, Arizona. Brad loves those guys. These are all the capacitors for the Univox head for the Univox speaker cabinet, which we love so much. So since this cab sounds so awesome, we got to assume that the head sounds awesome too. But the problem with the head, the Univox head, is it is full of those Atlas oil capacitors, and I think I already dialed it up once, and so we're just going to go to town on that sucker and replace everything that isn't bolted down. So something to look forward to. Coming soon to a theater near you. Here we are. Now we're listening to Wish You Were Here. Already got all the way through Animal, so if that's any indication of how long all this crap takes. But yeah, who doesn't love Wish You Were Here, right? Here we are. So we got the bullet capacitors out, and as we can see, this is supposed to be a 25, and it's drifted quite a bit. What's the math on that? That's drifted like, what, 800%? Something like that? Maybe 8%? Somewhere in between 8 and 800% that's drifted. So the other two weren't quite as bad, but they also drifted, so they had to go. Here's the replacements. Purple guy there, I don't even know what color that is. What do you call that? Dark salmon. Another guy there, and another guy there. So I think now we're going to dial her up again, see where we're at. I have a sinking suspicion that I did not solve our noise problem, but I don't think we heard it either. So let's do it. All right, check it out. Here we are. We're dialed up to 90 something. Can't read it. Go back to where we were last time. I think I dialed it up to 100. So 0 to 100. Still got the noise, but it seems like it went down a bit. I mean, the noise where it's at now, I mean, it's there, but it definitely went down. So that's a good sign. Yeah, because I remember last time, that was just absolutely annoying. Still kind of have low output for what I would expect with this amplifier. And the other thing is, yeah, it's kind of loud. It's better, for sure. does seem to have a lot of saturation for what I would expect, but anyway, still a little noisy. Yeah, it's still ridiculously noisy. So, let me turn this down. Let me try it over here. Yeah, so something's getting into somewhere, and then it's getting amplified, obviously. It's like the dumbest statement I've heard all day.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
But anyway, I'm going to go back and check my math on the power supply that I rebuilt. I'm pretty sure it's good, but you never know. Things happen. If not, then, well, we're just going to have to do some brainstorming. We're going to think about all the symptoms and what their possible solutions are. All right. The Gemini's a challenge. But we'll figure it out. All right, hang tight. Alrighty then. So, it seems that we have some kind of grounding problem. And some of this is probably a situation caused by my own ignorance and bad habits and other things. So what we did is we went back to the Bible, the Bible of Merlin Blanco here.
Don't try to frighten us with your sorcerer's ways.
And this is the book. If you don't have it, get it. If you need it, $40 on Amazon or your literature retailer of choice. He also has a power amp book, but that's like $938, so good luck with that. But anyway, let's just take a second to read a couple of bits here. Ground refers to the common reference node that is shared by all parts of a circuit. Okay. Confusion concerning ground probably begins when we start learning electronics. Yes, since we necessarily start with very simple circuits. True statement here. So simple, in fact, that grounding is not a problem. We can make the ground connections to any odd bit of metal or wire. As long as they are all ultimately connected together, the circuit works quite satisfactorily. Very true. I come from a background of, I used to be an electrical technician that would upfit industrial vehicles for like, major electric companies and such. And yeah, anytime a ground, you just drill and tap a hole into the frame or whatever, just stick it in and it worked, turn the lights on and off, etc. So the ground scheme was really not important. Moving on. So we don't bother to think or learn about grounding until we have already developed bad habits, which, when we progress into more advanced and high-gain circuits, suddenly become important. And that's where we are today. Bad habits may also be reinforced by our familiarity with circuit diagrams that show components terminated with ground symbols. So true. This makes for tidy diagrams, but it is easy to forget that current actually flows in a loop. So if it comes from some power source or generator, then it must somehow find its way back again via ground. And I think this is where we're at now. Okay, So blah, blah, blah. You can read this. I'll throw a link in the thingy. But long story short, this is what we're going to try and do here today is... Oh, let's do this one down here. We try and do something like this. We're going to control the path of ground for all our grounded nodes. So, for example, we come out of the rectifier here. Going to have the reservoir cap, and then we're going to go to the transformer. Will be the next spot in the ground scheme, and then the cathode for our power tubes. And then our our filter caps. And then the nodes on the further on down the line on the circuit. So they will all be connected in one continuous line or bus, but the flow back to ground, or if you want to go this way, will be controlled from node to node to node to node to node. So we'll be controlling the path to ground. We'll try and eliminate any other secondary connections to the earth, essentially, and hopefully this will help our situation out. So that's the theory. Now's the practice. Okay, so in that end, what I've built here is this guy. Let's see if I can do this. Let me put him over here. I built this guy here. So we're not going to use the middle one because that's going to be obviously screwed into the chassis. So that would cause a ground loop, an additional path to ground that we're trying to avoid. But I have bust the outer two and the inner two, or the left two and the right two, together as such. And so that is going to be for the reservoir cap, then the transformer, then the cathode for the power tube, and then the filter caps. And then I'll have some more further on down the line for the preamp stages. And then we'll be hopefully controlling the path the electrons take to ground. And that'll hopefully eliminate a bunch of noise. So here we go. Again, on my own. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be listening to the greatest band of all time. Okay, so here we are. We got the, what did I do? I regrounded the power supply, the transformer, and the rectum fryer to my little ground bus that I showed you earlier. And I have that temporarily just grounded over here, just to see where we're at. I had removed this little guy that I installed here for the center tap of the heaters, because I used the little screw there. I don't know if you can see it down there. Let me get Mr. Pointer. This sucker's live. So down there, the little screw, that's where this guy was. And when I first fired it back up, I didn't have the heater taps grounded, which I do now. And it had 60 cycle hum, like you read about, like the beginning of Typo Negative's October Rust.
Yeah, on.
So I thought I had made things worse, but just for giggles and shits, I jumped over to ground the center tap for the heaters, and here we are. We're on 10. She's quiet as a church mouse. Let me turn the volume up. See, volume 10. I'm not lying. Look at that cool shirt. Get yours. Can you see it? Can you see it? Yeah. Volume on 10. Volume on the guitar. All the way up. Wow, what a difference, huh? This is where we're at on the old Variac. 104 volts. Just about a half an amp. 45 watts. Not bad, not bad. Alright, let's give her a listen. I haven't played her without the 60 cycle hum yet. I just was very happy that this is getting better. So let's see where we're at with the old guitar. Now there's still a little bit of noise coming through the speaker. It's definitely livable. Definitely live with it where it's at. But again, this is all kind of tacked together with jumper cables and duct tape. So I Probably only get better from here, you know? Still very low output. Oh, we got noise there. It's just the, because I'm sitting next to my computer with a Telecaster.
Keep playing, man.
There you have it, getting better. Again, that's just Telecaster next to the computer. Much better. I think we're making progress. I think I'm going to continue on with Plan Blenco and do it all the way. So this will be a really nice quiet amp, hopefully. And then that actually sounds pretty nice, right? Still got low output. It's something doesn't seem right there. All right, you get the idea. So back at it. I'm gonna finish the grounding scheme. Here we go. It's a great rock star pose right there. A couple of them. Jane getting a little carried away with her little addiction. Anywho, so continuing on. What are we doing here? So now we got to channel the electrons from the grounding electrons from the preamp section. And I think I'm going to, as you can see, there's orange, red, and yellow wires. That corresponds to... Oops, hold on. Should have been more prepared. Oh my god, I'm a mess. Production in this video is going straight to hell. Anyway, get out of the light. These three nodes right here. So we have the red node first, then the orange, and then the yellow. So we're going to isolate these three nodes, and it's kind of a mishmash. They put the guitar and accordion inputs in the middle of the chassis, so it kind of, when it comes out of the back, it just kind of goes all cattywampus and takes different routes, whereas like if a normal like Fender, you know, your inputs would be over here in the corner of the chassis, and then it would run straight down the circuit board, all nice like, but this kind of goes all over the place. And you can kind of tell that by the way they got these tubes numbered. They go backwards than I'm used to anyway. V1 is usually the first preamp tube, but this is the power tubes. It starts at the power tubes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But anyway, V4 is actually the first tube on channel 2. And then what do we got over here? V5. So yeah, it's a little kind of all over the place and doesn't make for, you know, nice neat wiring, as you can see here. But we'll do the best we can. So we're going to isolate the grounds of all of these three nodes, the yellow, red, and orange, and we're going to use these, yellow, red, orange, or whichever way is appropriate. But you get the idea. Figure it out.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
So that's where we're at. Hopefully it works. And so the little terminal strip I put over here, if I can show you that, probably not. It's quite a bit, it's like almost a foot away, or maybe even a foot away from the second terminal strip I installed right here. So I used a shielded cable and what we're going to do is over on this side, it's a 2-conductor with a shield, so it has a black and a white wire and a bare wire. On this side, the black wire I soldered to the bare wire, but it's not connected to anything. But over here, it will be. I'm going to connect the black wire that's connected to the shield to the middle terminal of this guy right here, and that's going to ground. So hopefully that'll help us not introduce any noise into the circuit on this long run, you know, with inputs and outputs and left puts and right puts, so shot puts and everything else. So that's the plan. Back at it. Hit it, Perry.